to remember when Florida State went on the road against the odds, against the crowd, and they won. And so Florida State made the marker 18-0 over Georgia in 1962, and 98 wins later, the Sod Cemetery has become one of the biggest traditions in college football. It's been called a top 100 tradition. So we're very glad to have you here. For Sod Talk, we thought, well, let's bring the thing alive. There are a lot of people who come every week, and so let's bring it alive, and let's bring back some former athletes who brought back the Sod, and we bring them back to Doak for you. We're going to have a lot of fun with this. We've got returning Hall of Famers today, and in 2 weeks, it's Clemson. And we had a good little win over there in 1988. It was, let's see where that one is, right here, 24-21. You may remember Deion Sanders on a great punt return. But at the end of the game, the greatest play since My Fair Lady was the punt rooski. And so coming from Milwaukee in 2 weeks is Leroy Butler. And Leroy, who also invented the Lambeau Leap with the Packers, is going to be here, and we'll talk about Clemson. But today, we've got returning Hall of Famers. Two fellows who last night were inducted in the Hall of Fame are very special Seminoles, and I want to introduce them to you. 37 years later, this fellow still has the record for making the most tackles in Florida State football history. He made 512 tackles. Would you welcome, from Gainesville, Florida, Aaron Carter.
I'm walking slow because I'm looking back. I span 3 staffs in terms of generation. And I'm looking at this 1974 FSU over Miami win.
That was a good one, and y'all weren't supposed to do that, were you?
Great one. That was a win that came at the end of a losing season, but we never quit.
That's the Seminole win. Bring it back to Sod. Aaron, come on up here, come on right up here, Aaron. Our other guest has come to us from Phoenix, Arizona. He scored 38 touchdowns in his career for Florida State. Maybe the most elusive runner we had ever had to that point. He was a 9-year NFL player, was the most valuable player of the St. Louis Cardinals. From Chip Lee, Florida, would you welcome back Amp Lee? Aaron and Amp, it is great to have you as our first Sod Talk guests. First, Aaron, I remember when you graduated, you used to protect the goal line, and soon enough, Aaron was protecting campus as a Florida State policeman, but now you're in education. Tell folks what you're doing these days.
I am currently a teacher on special assignment working with exceptional education students in Gainesville, Florida.
AMP is helping a lot of young people who need help. Aaron is, and we appreciate that. Aaron, take us back to 1977 a minute. Let's go right over here a second.
77 was a good year.
77 a year. You had some teammates, Monk Bonasorte, Jimmy Jordan, Wally Woodham, Larry Key. It had been 9 years since we had defeated University of Florida. We're going back to your hometown, December 2nd, 1977. Tell us what it was like to go to Florida Field.
Well, if you will imagine, we're in Coach Bowden's second year. We're still hungry. We felt that his first year, we should have probably lost one game, but that's being the players. But in 77, we rolled into Gainesville, a successful season, feeling like we were on top of the world and couldn't be stopped. Going into that hostile environment, we had to look hard to find our fans in the end zone, but we found them. We found them. The team went in the end zone. We had a little cheering session, and we took care of business.
37-9, one of the great Seminole victories in Gainesville. Now, Aaron, last night you were inducted in the Hall of Fame for Florida State. Tell us what that means to you.
This whole weekend has been a wow weekend. I'm impressed with everything I've seen. I'm impressed with all the people that I haven't seen in years. all the people who were important in my life as a development from a student and a football player. And it's wow. That's all I can say.
I think we all say wow, and we're glad to have you back here, Aaron. Let me ask you this. Now, Aaron, I'm not sure if you still be a linebacker, maybe at middle guard right now, but I'm going to give you a scenario. You're out at Doak. Can you still give us one? You could give us one play, couldn't you?
I can do one play.
All right, now let's say this. Let's say Carlos Williams at 6'1", 228 with about 4.4 speed, and he's headed right to you. What could happen, Aaron?
I got some lessons from Amp. But first thing he'll need to understand is that I've developed a very special skill set. And if he comes alone, he might get knocked out.
Oh, my goodness.
If he brings some friends, some of his linemen, he'll be okay, but
you might still make a tackle?
He won't score.
I'll tell you what, we've played football now for, I guess, 66 years. No Seminole has ever made more tackles than Aaron Carter. Aaron, we're glad to have you back.
Thank you. Great to be home.
Well, Amp Lee from Chipley. Amp, tell us what you've been doing lately.
Okay, lately I've been I coach and teach at Phoenix Country Day School in Arizona. I also have my own basketball club. I coach football and basketball. Long story short, I'm working with kids, something I love to do.
Well, Amp, that is tremendous. And Amp's got two boys, I believe. They're here right now. He's got a little one and one about 14.
15 and 3. They're actually trying to track down some things in the gift shop.
Gift shop, they got about Seminole stuff. So, Amp, I want to ask you this. Let's wander over here.
Michigan.
I went to this game at Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Yeah.
Some of you may remember. 1991, Florida State ranked number 1. We took on Big Michigan, ranked number 3. It was called the Game of the Century. Everybody in America's watched it. 103,000 people came to the big house, and those fellas, they thought that the little Seminoles from the South wouldn't have much chance, but we had something else. But let's take us before that game. You guys are getting ready. What was it like to get ready to play in the big house?
Well, obviously going into that game was a big game. We were number one ranked 10 and number 3. We talked about the Big Ten football, what's the style of our play with the speed and so forth. The options of the Desmond Hyman and Terrell Buckley matchup was a big issue, so forth. But just to tell you guys a little bit about the game, before the game, a lot going. Guys get prepared a lot of different ways. And Sean Jackson at the time, who was my backup running back, this guy was banging his head on the locker. He was shaking the lockers back and forth. And I don't mean just, and he didn't have a helmet on, by the way. Yeah, so I'm, the running backs sitting together, so I'm sitting next to Sean, and I kind of look over and I go, I'm thinking, dude, I'm starting today, man. So I was thinking, okay, if you're feeling that way, Sean, perhaps you should go out and carry the ball today. So, it was something we always laugh about and talk about, but at the same time, I went out and had a great game, so it was a great win. And Sean was okay, so he ended up being okay.
Well, Sean was good, but I'm glad we started you that day, Amp. And there are a couple of plays. If any guys YouTube sometime, Michigan, FSU, 1991. It's one of the most stunning games you've ever seen. There's one 5-yard run that may be what I think one of the greatest 5-yard runs in Florida State history. And I thought today we'd venture back. Keith Jackson and Bob Greasy with ABC television for that call. And you had just caught a 38-yard pass from Casey to get us to the 5-yard line. And we had to take it on in. So it's 1st and goal from the 5. And it sounded like this.
It is now 10 of 16 for 160 yards. Go back to what I said in the opening, Keith. This backfield is the best backfield in the country. This is Lee. Look at those feet. He walked in. He jumped around that quarterback like the defensive man wasn't even there. He does it so easily. It's deceptively easy. When you see the replay, watch the man's feet. Watch his feet.
Once he made the defensive man miss. It was a little toss. 7 comes in, that's Terrell. Now watch Dot, 22. Makes a little move to the outside. Good blocking inside. Well, they make it look easy.
Yep. Dr. Senior, one of the better ones around this neck of the woods.
You know, remember that? I think that Keith Jackson likes your feet, Al.
I'd say so. I'd say so. It was a great play.
There was a cornerback named Lance Dalton, and certain parts of Lance's uniform were left on that field when Amp went by him. But we went on and won 51-31 in really one of the great victories in Florida State history. Amp, 9 years in the NFL. What was that like after leaving Florida State?
It was different in that it's way more competitive by way of guys playing for different reasons, different motivation. There's a lot of pressure there. At the same time, it was a tremendous opportunity, a tremendous blessing. Very grateful for it. But to go back to just hearing that Keith there, I get emotional because I can remember being there, the energy and just everything I thought as I was approaching the guy, and it makes me feel like I can suit up right now and go.
I think we'd give you a chance, right, fans? Amp last night inducted in the FSU Athletics Hall of Fame. I'm going to ask you a softball. What's it like to be a Seminole?
It's incredible. I've living in Arizona, the West Coast, last 15 years, we're represented well everywhere. I love it. No matter where I go across the country, the Florida State Seminoles, they have fans there. They know the chant. I'll tell you a quick story. This happened probably 2 weeks ago. I was in the Starbucks line behind the car that had a Gator tag. And I let the window down and I started hitting with this. And she paid for my Starbucks. So
the Seminoles still help the game.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Aaron, you down in Gainesville. We're going to have to come see you next year. You going to help us out? We're going to be there?
Gainesville is a great place to come and take over.
All right, fans, we want to thank you for being at Sod Talk. In 2 weeks, and we're going to try to do this every game, 2 hours before game time. We'll try to have some good folks out here and have a lot of fun. Let's go get Citadel, and thanks for coming. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.